Today, we're talking about a murderer who has developed a stack of supplements which is going to enhance his performance beyond anybody else's because it's the half natty stack. It's basically the bridge between sort of natural, but not all the way natural, and certainly not enhanced. But again, this is the guy who's gone crazy, psychopathic many different times. We're talking about Connor Murphy. Now, if you don't remember Connor Murphy, let me just cue you in on a few things. First of all, he went psychopathic a while ago. Basically had one of the most amazing physiques, and he would do these stunts in the public many times where basically he would take his shirt off, show around what he's got, show the abs, walk up to girls, ask them to touch his abs, ask him if they would date him, all sorts of weird sort of public prank things. Pretty clear that the dude was juicing back in the day. And because of that juicing, the hair follicles started shrinking away on his scalp. And because of that, he was pretty upset. So he came off. And it was in a big way. His physique entirely shrunk down into almost nothingness. And from there, he went into an absolute fit of rage several times over again, with eating watermelon only for 1 month or something like that, doing a complete fast, a water fast for I think it was even a month. Some crazy stuff. Then going to on YouTube to rant about, offing himself into the shadow dimension and all sorts of crazy shit. I mean, this guy has actually lost his mind. He's been in Thailand, caused havoc there, is still in Thailand, causing havoc there, possible murder situations, beating up women. It's bad, right? Like I've told you guys, as a guy who was in Thailand, it's a horrible situation. He's also come out with this Natty Plus protocol, and we're going to review it, see if it's just as crazy as he is. Now, I encourage you to realize that while Connor might sound very intelligent, there is a dark path behind him wherever he walks. So understanding this is so important. You might think, well, he sounds pretty smart. A lot of the things he says are just inaccurate in almost most videos that he posts. But without further ado, let's see what he has to say.
I doubled my testosterone, 15x'd my growth hormone, and gained significant lean mass in less than a month without steroids, without suppressing my natural hormones, and without sacrificing my health. This is the power of the Natty Plus protocol.
Actually, what this sounds like is a big calorie surplus, training after not having trained for a while, and then taking a few less than effective peptides. Probably. I don't know.
See, in the bodybuilding world, substance utilization is viewed through the dichotomous lens of natty or not. And I used to identify as a natty by avoiding any supplement that society considered unnatural.
He used to identify as a natty, but he wasn't natty. Notice the wording there. He clearly was not natural. He's just claiming natty. Let me tell you.
I thought that this was the safe, healthy approach to bodybuilding, but I was wrong. See, in order to achieve my dream physique, I had to engage in extreme, destructive behaviors that ruin my physical and mental health. Meticulously counting calories to the point that could be considered an eating disorder.
You could be considered an eating disorder. Listen, you're doing a sport, you're trying to achieve a result which is completely abnormal compared to most people. So if you got to do something to achieve an abnormal result, you can call it what you will, but it's just required. Whether that's business and working long hours consecutively for weeks on end, months on end, whether that's bodybuilding and dieting and doing intense training, whether that's combat sports and literally beating the face off of other people. You can talk about disordered living all you want. This always is something that people fall back on, but at the end of the day, that's just what extreme looks like in just about anything. Yeah, if you have a great physique, one of the best, you're going to be a little bit extreme with how you do things. There's no way around that. Yeah, you can take all the products in the world and peptides, which we'll find out what he's taking. I don't quite know yet, but it's not really going to do much for you in place of a amazing diet that hits micronutrients, macronutrients, and your caloric needs. It just won't, unfortunately, and I'm sorry. But hey, there's always steroids.
And practicing antisocial behavior because I didn't want to miss my next meal or be tempted by alcohol that could disrupt my protein synthesis. See, at my peak physique, I felt my worst, both physically and mentally. And it wasn't sustainable. I restricted calories for years straight out of fear of losing my visible abs, and my body adapted by lowering its metabolism and natural anabolic hormones such as testosterone, making it more difficult to maintain muscle and stay lean.
The whole idea of disrupting his social life and all of these things, I mean, that's very real. I think most bodybuilders can relate to that. When you're bodybuilding, you don't have opportunities to do much else because it is a round the clock. You have to do it every day, day in and day out. However, I think it's all fair to say that that you can't really destroy your metabolism. You don't just have one and then suddenly it's gone. You can definitely impair the rate of thermogenesis and things like this through long-term adaptations and definitely the foods you choose to eat, but you can't just like not have a metabolism suddenly or damage a metabolism, because at a cellular level as well as a genomic level, these things are kind of built into who you are. They're not going anywhere. This is encoded stuff that's not just going to change because you ate differently for a little bit of time. That's ludicrous to think of.
I refused to step over to the dark side and become unnatural. I didn't want to become one of the many serious bodybuilders with severe body dysmorphia that abuse steroids out of insecurity, shedding decades off of their life just to achieve a physique that receives validation.
I don't know if you guys watched him at this era of time when he was walking around the streets trying to approach women, but he did not come off as someone who felt awful. He did not come off as someone who was struggling. In my mind, in fact, he was actually not even that crazy lean. This is pretty livable body fat percentages, if I'm being honest. Like, this is where I am generally most of the year. So in my personal opinion, this is kind of a ludicrous statement.
And it wasn't sustainable. I restricted calories for years straight out of fear of losing my visible abs, and my body adapted by lowering its metabolism.
So what he's saying here is basically that he couldn't have had abs unless he restricted calories, which inherently is just not true. You can eat at maintenance calories and be he can be super lean eating at maintenance calories and be generally fulfilled. You don't have to be 9% body fat, 8% body fat to see your abs. You need to be about 12% body fat, which is seriously so achievable year round, and you can eat really good at that body fat percentage and stay at it. It's not that difficult. Does it feel like a VSL to anyone else at this point?
Why am I blindly subscribing to this false dichotomy, natural versus not? After all, naturalness is a spectrum. Even creatine is unnatural to an extent because it's consumed at concentrations unavailable to primal humans.
Questionable statement. Actually, you can actually achieve that. There's people who do, eating a lot of red meat, but there is this continuum. I don't think that's a false statement, because at the end of the day, as much as people want to claim and tout that they're natural, even if you're natural, you're probably taking several different products which would not be available to you if you weren't in the 21st century. Furthermore, you might be exposing yourself to microplastics, heavy metals, lots of other things that are in your environment that change and modify your endocrine system. So yeah, it's really hard to say that anyone's actually natural. Just because someone's picking up a needle and injecting themselves doesn't really make them any better than a guy taking, a copious amount of oral Sarms from the internet, for that matter. It's sort of this same concept. There is clearly a difference from abusing steroids and using supplements, and I think what people get so caught up on is those two things being highly dichotomous. But at the end of the day, I think we're all unnatural to some extent.
So I realized the real reason I was remaining natural was to acquire the approval of others, of my friends, my family, my online audience. And then I recognized the mental prison I had locked myself in. I was engaging in unhealthy, obsessive compulsive behaviors just to maintain a label because I cared what others thought of me. Fuck that. What should matter is building a physique that you can be proud of while remaining healthy and feeling great. So that's why I created the Natty Plus protocol, a regimen that includes...
I can already tell you just from looking at this image, it is far from the Natty protocol. You're taking several different pharmaceuticals, and they're all conveniently enough by enhanced labs and Swiss chems, which we've talked about as well on this channel before, being inherently linked to Tony Huge, someone who's also being investigated for murder right now. A little bit of weird situations, if you will.
Some of the supplements I take are up to a 6, I would say, on the natural or not spectrum. But these supplements don't negatively impact my health. In fact, my blood work has shown an increase in my metabolic health.
That's cap. We'll see what he's talking about, but they're going to negatively impact your health. It's why they're not used in humans at this current day and age, right? If these products were so good and they were so efficacious without any downsides, clearly it would be something that is prescribed to humans everywhere. Pharmaceutical companies would be all over the stuff. But even though they were approved by phase 2 clinical trials, it still is not something that we see prescribed or openly used in any kind of clinical setting outside of a few, I don't know, very abstract studies, right? Like, you don't see these things like MK677 being used for children with short stature. You see growth hormone being used, and it's because growth hormone works better with less negative consequences. it's a matter of fact, right? If it worked better, they would use it in clinical settings to fix problems of growth hormone deficiencies. They would, but it doesn't. Yeah, of course, you're going to see improved health when you get more healthy. What is often an interesting concept to me is people will start taking steroids and other anabolics and then say, look, I'm getting healthier. But simultaneously, they've lost a copious amount of fat. They've started to improve their diets because now they're on steroids. And so their diets, losing fat, is the things that are making them healthy, not necessarily the products that they're taking. Also, I'll say with this, you can look in blood work to be healthier when you're using these things because you've grown more muscle. So your metabolic health, your glucose management, insulin sensitivity, and general lipid counts are going to be usually better because of that. It's not inherently that the drugs are doing anything. It's just that you actually started to build some more tissue, and that muscle tissue is acting as a trough for all the glucose and lipids and all that other stuff to get used up by.
Functional levels like what would happen if I was actually injecting anabolic steroids. And best of all, my physique is as good as it used to be when I was dedicating my entire existence to the fitness lifestyle.
I think we literally just saw this video from front to back. The first physique was clearly bigger and clearly more lean by far.
But now I don't track a single calorie. I miss a workout here and there when I'm extra busy, and I have a great time. I party, I enjoy life. The entire reason why I wanted to develop this physique in the first place. So, here are some of the most powerful Natty Plus supplements I've taken. Black Ox Testosterone Booster. This contains many powerful compounds, including DHEA, a precursor to many different hormones.
We've talked about this before. Not even this one, just any testosterone booster, pretty ineffective in any kind of setting. Elevating testosterone or free testosterone. You might get slight elevations, but in a intracellular response, we see that that's pretty ineffective. And usually you might see a total testosterone increase, but free testosterone seems to be relatively stagnant. And yeah, if you inhibit estrogen, your testosterone is going to go up, but estrogen is also a part of the anabolic pathway. It's not just testosterone that does everything for you. You need estrogen to do the things that are going to be building muscle, as well as converting IGF-1 from growth hormone. If you don't have it or have enough of it, you're screwed. As well as sexual function, by the way. Estradiol, extremely important for sexual function.
Including DHEA, a precursor to many different hormones in the body. The combination of blue and black ox.
I'll save you some money. He's right. DHEA, a great product to take for most human beings. It hasn't been shown to improve physical performance or muscle mass in many clinical data. I mean, this is time and time again, we see this in clinical data with both women and men. I'll try to throw some up here, but it works, you know, psychologically speaking. I do see that people achieve benefits from it, and especially if they're having, you know, on blood work, relatively low DHEA sulfate. Yeah, DHEA supplementation can actually improve their life, but it's not going to actually transfer into performance or muscle gains, at least from what I have seen. Now, saying that, it's still a illegal drug to use by the terms of WADA. It's a prohibited substance, but it doesn't seem to, in any study, improve performance.
Testosterone boosters doubled my natural testosterone in less than 2 weeks with no noticeable side effects. 3-AD. This is a derivative of the hormone DHEA, but 3-AD is more potent because it is more easily converted to testosterone and other androgens in the body. It's actually the world's strongest DSHEA compliant metabolite, patented and sold exclusively by Enhanced Labs. 3-AD and DHEA are quite extraordinary because they are pro-hormones but don't appear to significantly suppress natural testosterone levels.
I call cap. If it was so good, you would be seeing it everywhere. We don't have that happening, right? Like, you don't see this on the shelves. Just as a slight correction here, it does appear that 3-AD is being approved for human use as we speak. It's going through phase 3 clinical trials, but it's not for muscle gain or enhancement of lean body mass at all. So it's for Alzheimer's. It hasn't been shown to be really statistically significant for muscle mass. So I was a little bit wrong here. Coming back on the back end editing this, I was a little bit wrong. Even if it was patented by a company, which they wouldn't be able to just gatekeep this product. Let me tell you, first and foremost, that would have happened with testosterone. Suddenly now everyone makes testosterone. This product would be everywhere, right? If it truly worked as good as he's claiming it works, we would see this stuff flying off the shelves. Why is Greg Doucette not selling this stuff? It's not going to be that efficacious. I promise you. He also said something very interesting. They're pro-hormones. They will also convert into estradiol. What I have seen is that people taking DHEA will have elevated levels of estradiol, and that actually leads into them suppressing their own testosterone. Usually estradiol is the feedback loop that will modulate testosterone production. If you have a really high estradiol, your testosterone production will slow down. That's why taking an AI or a SERM, a selective estrogen receptor modulator, would increase one's endogenous performance in terms of their testosterone production. Usually you'll see like someone in their first cycle or not using their first cycle, trying to be a half natty, use N-clomiphene, which he doesn't mention here, which would be way more effective than either of the products he's mentioned for testosterone boosts, which he probably did use, just to be honest. It most likely is the thing he used as opposed to the products he's trying to push. Of course, he has an affiliate link with all of these things, so who knows at this point.
MK677 from Swiss Chems. This is a growth hormone secretagogue that increases growth hormone by stimulating the ghrelin receptor. This increases your natural growth hormone production, analogous to a testosterone booster, increasing your natural testosterone production.
I don't know how many times I have to talk about MK677. It's ineffective. It's not worth your money. You can literally buy kits of growth hormone for cheaper than you can buy a month's supply of MK677, and it will be more effective. And again, bounding back on this, if it was so effective, why was it clinically tested and then not used in any kind of clinical setting? Was it because it was too good for people to be taking and that's why they just couldn't take it? No. And also, what's different from taking MK677 compared to exogenous growth hormone? The only difference is that you are maxing out in a super physiological way your own gland to produce growth hormone. You're not doing anything that far off from what would just be injecting growth hormone, which would be likely more controllable, higher quality results, and cheaper at the end of the day. And again, I just have to say this for the guys in back who think MK677 is this revolutionary thing. Why isn't it used by the companies who produced it? Why did it stop being used? Can anyone tell me that reason? It's because it doesn't work good.
AC262 from Swiss Chems. This is a selective androgen receptor modulator, or SARM. But AC262 appears to have more potent...
Notice how he says appears, and that's because there's a few studies where it would suggest that. However, guess what? It's not approved for human use. Do you want to know why? Because it's not safe for human consumption. So the whole argument it just doesn't make sense.
And selective binding affinity for the androgen receptor than most other SARMs, which gives it one of, if not the best ratios of anabolic benefits to side effects.
The stack is supposed to be something he can take that is completely safe. And whilst he might have had good results, who's to say that he wasn't doing exactly what he's saying on the screen here? Or who's to say that someone else's results may vary, as is most results when they're N equals 1. That's why you want to see most data sets with a large group of people, because it includes all of the different assortments of human beings on this planet, not just our friend Connor here. Again, really important to understand here is that it seems that AC262536, which is the full name of the compound, is less effective than most other SARMs because it's a partial agonist of the androgen receptor, and in fact, it's still suppressive to LH levels, luteinizing hormone, and follicle stimulating hormone. This has been done in rats. There is no human trials as of yet, so we have really no idea. Studies are also very, very vague. I've only seen 4 studies as of right now everywhere on the database. I mean, that's the all there is. So to say this much stuff in confidence about a drug that has virtually no clinical use in humans, terrible idea. Generally, terrible fucking idea. Not so great, honestly.
Of course, I also take the basic supplements, whey protein, essential amino acids, creatine, and sometimes pre-workout. And I also have utilized more obscure but very natural supplements such as epicatechin, a myostatin inhibitor derived from plants, arachidonic acid, an omega-6 fatty acid that increases protein synthesis by inflaming the muscle, testosterone, a natural plant steroid that has anabolic effects.
These are all very skeptical at best. They haven't actually been shown to be reliable in research to do any of these things. To include testosterone.
I'm retarded?
Testosterones. Yeah, actually, recent study just came out on its effects in muscle growth and specifically IGF-1 elevations. Mute. Had no effect. So, in humans, really, it's interesting.
I just said bust what on my face? Nah, bro, that's still gay. No, You're gay!
Alpha-yohimbine, an alkaloid in tree bark, which blocks the alpha-2 receptor, increasing lipolysis or fat breakdown.
Alpha-yohimbine is very effective. That I will say. This is a very legitimate compound. It's so legitimate that it's been banned from many countries. Super great at stimulating fat loss. It's something you would pair with clenbuterol because clenbuterol is a beta-2 agonist. So combining the two is a really great idea. You basically complete a full closed loop with fat loss. Beta-2 is basically dumping fatty acids into the bloodstream, where this alpha-2 is inhibiting the reabsorption of fatty acids. It's really cool stuff.
And Slim pills, which improves nutrient partitioning and increases metabolic health by increasing insulin sensitivity. This one is a must-have to counterbalance the potential insulin resistance caused by MK677.
Yeah, so what do I think about the half natty protocol? Well, sorry, I should have quoted it as correctly as I possibly could have. The Natty Plus protocol. It's bullshit. You'd probably be just better off taking steroids, to be honest. You'd save yourself a lot of money and you'd get better results. And kind of what he was talking about, very interesting, right? He does not really have a realistic viewpoint here, because he was talking about how he couldn't go out and do all these nice things, but wanted a really great physique. So what you're telling me is that you're achieving a great physique now using substances. So why not just use a moderate dose of testosterone and then blow all of this stuff out of the water, buddy? You're not gonna have to be precautious with what you eat or drink. You can still be very fit, be very aware of your health, but you don't have to not drink because you're bounding back oral steroids like motherfucking Wes Watson in this bitch.
Fuck off, motherfucker! Shoveling shit in your face. You're doing everything you shouldn't do. But Wes, I've been dieting for like 20 months. Fucking lived, bitch!
You can literally live a normal life entirely, but still reap the benefits of 200 milligrams of testosterone and 4 to 5 IUs of growth hormone. Seriously, I'm talking major results over using all of these things in conjunction. You could literally throw all of them out, buy a vial of testosterone and a kit of growth hormone, and get more results in 8 weeks than you could doing any of this. I'm telling you the honest truth here as someone who coached. I'm not just saying this stuff to say this stuff as a besmirch to Connor Murphy. That's not what I'm trying to do in this video. I'm trying to actually be educational. I do this stuff for a living. I help hundreds of people and have helped hundreds more. It's so unfathomable to believe that any of these products would do more than just a simple dose of testosterone and growth hormone. That's my personal take. If you want to learn more, you can join our Discord group. It is paid, but there's also a free section and you can ask us questions there. We talk about this stuff all of the time and break down research for you. As well, we have a coaching service, and if you're interested in that, you can just look down below in the description. Talk all about on-one coaching programs there, and they are really good programs, but they're only meant for really a certain type of person, to be honest. So if you're not really invested in getting fit, and I'm talking like jacked fit, not just like a little fit, and I'm being so serious here, it's not worth your time. So we'll catch you in the next video.